Just think of the date. I made it easy that way.
All right,
November
setting up. It's about
31.
to load. Should be live.
Okay, let me check real quick.
Yes, we are. We are
Yes,
live on Facebook.
we are live.
So all those in Facebook, we're
Yes.
about to start in a few minutes. It's almost 7 o'clock. If you'd like to join us on Zoom, we'll be putting the link in the comment below.
Let me do that right now. Let me copy this. I got it.
Excellent. Energy co-host. Okay.
It is 7 o'clock. Thank you for everyone joining us. Make sure to, it's never too late to jump on the Zoom. And today is day 4, connecting with your guides through meditation. So for day 1, just to do a little recap, I'm just going to look them up real quick so that way I say them in the correct order. So for day 1, we did connecting with your guides. Uh, the subject was setting the mood and making a clear intention. That was for day 1, how to set the mood and crafting a clear intention. And setting the mood is making that sacred space for you. And a lot of people will make a sacred space around the house, but I'm talking more about if you're out and about, if you're not at home, how, when you go to that meditation, where is your sacred space? And I use the picture, which describes very well of my sacred space, on a cliff overlooking the water, the sun rays, which is really my higher source light just over me, and that beautiful breeze in my white dress. And then for day 2, it was about practicing loving patience on yourself, unconditional love for you. And we were just really talking about how, as healers, you show that unconditional love to others, but when it comes to ourselves, we don't practice that. So, practicing that, learning how to relax more and breathe, having those deep breaths and just really taking time for yourself, just like in the airplane. In case of an emergency, you put your oxygen on yourself first and then on the others. And that's what we were talking about. Make sure you heal yourself every day first before you go on healing others. And then for day 3, we were talking about calling for protection and producing sacred sounds. And we really, spoke about the vibrations, the power of our voice, power of words, but also calling for that protection, surrounding yourself with that white light and always protecting yourself. And so now, today is day 4. Let me just go back on my screen. So that way I know I keep time on myself. Sorry about that. Okay, perfect. So just a little bit about us. I am Rebecca and my husband JB, and we are dual dragons. And we are holistic wellness consultants, also known as the Muscle Whispers. Our work is not only massage therapy, but we really use our gifts when it comes to, for me, is my empath gift, where the minute I touch you, I feel everything you feel. If you have a headache, I will feel the headache. If you're nauseous, if you have, shoulder pain, if you have back pain, whatever pain you might have, or whatever pain you are not aware of either, I will feel it. And so that is the way I work. My husband gets visions. My husband, he gets like directions where to go. And so together we form Dual Dragons, which is a perfect yin yang relationship on our clients also, where they benefit from our work getting the results they need at the moment and right away. And so there's our information. And you see time wise, we're going to share the topic now. So today for day 4 is about going through the door and inviting your spirit guides. I love to call this my party room. Because when you go in that room, it's a lot of people. For me, it is. It's like I call them my little Italian mob. And we like to all get together and plan things. And so what do you do to prepare to walk into your sacred space? Because this is in your sacred space. When you're in that space, all your guides are coming to you in that space because they know that that is a good place for you to be able to receive. So how do you prepare to walk into that space? And then what do you do to make sure the outside environment does not disturb that sacred space? And I mean, I'm not talking about like regular noises distracting you. I'm talking about the thoughts in your mind where sometimes if you're having the negative moments, that you don't bring that into that sacred space, where you're able to clear your mind and just say, you know what, at this moment, I need to clear my mind. I need to go to my sacred space, but I need to make sure not to bring that in there. So what do you do to prepare that? And then how do you prepare to become aware of your guides? You know, that we've been getting a lot of questions like how do I, know who my guides are, or how do I bring that forth? And it's really about surrendering. I like to just surrender any judgment over analyzing, any expectations, because sometimes when you go in with expectations, you're not going to get what you want, because you will get what you need at the moment. And it's just for many women, if you've had children, you will understand this analogy. When you get pregnant and you go to the classes, they always tell you make a birthing plan. But at the same time, they tell you, but know now that this plan will probably not be executed at all. It always changes. It's never what you expect. Everyone's birth is different. And it's so right. I had a birthing plan and the day came and I ended up getting a C-section. I wanted to do a natural birth, but it didn't happen that way. But I'm glad they said that, because when they said that, I put that in my mind, like, you know what, I'm not gonna, this is what I would like, but I know I'm going into it thinking this is not gonna happen, possibly, because I don't know what my daughter has in mind of how she wants to come to this world, So that's how I thought about it. So yes, always release, surrender that, and always, just know that the way things sometimes come to you, the way the guides come to you, it's never what you expect. And they always give you that, I would say, it's like surprise. You're always surprised afterwards. That's what I've always experienced. Like I always come out of it like surprised, like, oh, okay. I never expected that message, or that was interesting. I got this message. I wonder what that's all about. And then later on, it will manifest or something will occur, and I'll be like, oh, so that's what they meant. And so then, how do you prepare to become aware? Oh, that was the guy. How do you give them permission or surrender to their presence? And that was the answer again. How do you surrender to their presence? It's And what I mean by surrendering in their presence is more of releasing, like I said, that ego, that over analyzing, the expectations, the judgment, and just kind of like really emerging with them, and and try to connect in a way where you get a little bit of them, and that peaceful, you know,
Let me share my.
it's not as close as a near death experience, because I've been through a near death experience, and that's a whole different sensation. That's like very unique. It's very hard to explain, but it's close enough to feel their peaceful presence, where you just feel at peace, you know. So like I said, I've had a near death experience at 19, and when I was in that space, fully immersed in that space, it's a very different sensation. It's very hard to explain, but it's like, you know, what you think when you think of your happiest moment here on earth, it's like triple, quadruple that. If you think of the moments here on earth that you felt the most peaceful, it's even quadruple than that. It's like it's like so much bigger and so much more. And so, like I said, it's very hard to explain, but it's, you don't want to leave. I know that. I know when I came back, I was like, why? I wanted to stay, but they had something different in mind, and here I am.
Definitely, like our guest speaker yesterday was talking about her near-death experience, where she had the option to come back or not.
Hmm.
Her guardians, guides at that moment said, "You got to go back. There's no option for you." And even just to share kind of what she just talked about, like someone once put it, when you have expectations, but then you realize you're only getting these results, your mindset or your emotion is that gap that kind of fulfills either the fear that you are lacking or not good enough or not worthy, or the, all right, I got some work to do so I could manifest this connection or manifest the space. And just a quick story about my journey, kind of elaborating on this specific topic, was a couple years ago, a friend kind of opened me up to be more open to my guides and spiritual, but because of my mindset, because of the way I was programmed, I could not see my feminine side. I almost shut her out or kind of put this vision of my perception that I cannot see her. So what my feminine guide did was put on a costume of a dragon. And that's something I could relate to because dragons are powerful. I really was since connected to dragons. And it wasn't until I met Rebecca where she helped me again lift that veil or start removing some of those layers or onions from me to be more open that we are both have a masculine and feminine guide. And my feminine guide was disguised as a dragon for me to be more open and to somewhat tap into that aspect of my possibility. And it took a while for me to really walk. Mentally, I was walking through the door, but emotionally, spiritually, I was not connected to my heart to really see and embrace both at the same time. It was just either or. Again, just the way I was raised and what I held on to, which obviously were causing ailments in my body and weakening my maximum potential of the gifts I had to offer for those who were laying in front of me. And so, with that, as I started to peel the layers of onions, remove some of those perspectives, the interesting points of views that I held on to, the clearer I got to hear and see my guide. The clearer, until recently, one of the biggest ahas, like I mentioned, if you listened to some a couple days ago, that I finally recognized I could channel guides. And that's when we're working, obviously, on a client or engaging in a private conversation, is because I removed this old perception or judgment, really learning how to work with my ego. That's something you can get rid of. Learn something to connect and really work as a team versus as a little naysayer. And that's been an extremely interesting journey for allowing me to walk through the door and to allow a much clearer connection and conversation with the guides to provide for myself and for those in front of me.
Hmm. Yeah, and this is we're talking about years and years of practice. You know, this is not something that you just take in one course and you figure it out and you're good to go. You know, all of us as healers, we are constantly taking courses, preparing seminars, listening to guest speakers, just to get a clear message, because we've been to so many events where even sometimes I wonder, like, oh, I don't know if I want to go to this event, or I don't know if I want to attend the seminar, and I'll just go and then I'll leave that day going like, well, I'm so glad I came because I really got a good message from that today. You just never know what message you will get, because we're all connected some way, and we all serve each other in one way or another, and we all give messages to each other whether we know it or we don't. It's just, that's how throughout the years I've experienced realizing that not only are my guides are the ones that I am not aware of, it's also the people that we're surrounded with. The guides will use them to speak through them, especially if we're not listening. They will do anything and everything to get that message to you. So always know that this is a way to connect with your guides, but also know that they will find a way to connect with you also. So don't always feel like, well, I don't seem to hear them. You might be surprised that they've been already talking to you, if only you kind of like just be more aware when you hear someone say something and you're just like, wait, is this really coming from this person? It takes practice. It's taken me practice where someone say, I don't know if I want to tell you this, but I just want to say this to you. Or they'll say, like, you know what? Someone like a random stranger will come up to you and, you know what? I saw you from across the room and I just want to say this to you. And yeah, maybe it's coming from them, but it's also probably coming from your guide. And when I was able to finally become aware of that, it would I would always, whenever a stranger would come up to me, I would be like, ooh, is that a message? Let me write it down, because it might be an aha moment a little afterwards. So always know that you could do this, yes, but also know that your guides will find a way to communicate with you. Okay.
Definitely.
And with that, I forgot to make sure to make clear. CC, did you mention you wanted? Yeah, you were gonna do meditation. That's right. That's right. I needed that clarity a moment. Like I'm like, wait, did she say yes? She did. So let me see. It's 7:16. I think. Do you want to share anything else, JB? If not, we could go into meditation.
Definitely, like we mentioned before on the series, that sometimes you receive information and it's just to allow you to tune to the vibration to eventually give on the message. And there's times that Rebecca received a lot of information from the guides at that time I wasn't prepared to listen to, or else my ego's like, why didn't you give it to me? And it'll be months later, days later, even like recently, like I found out like there's a message a year later that she finally, well, the guys told me to tell you this. When did they tell you? Like a year ago. It's like, really? It was like those moments when you finally surrender a layer, a perception, a judgment, a program, a voice, a story that's not yours, that you bought as yours and you put on as your own, thinking that you're meant to be that way. That surrendering is another word for removing and peeling off that to really.
Mm-hmm.
Some of you might get that in a different form, like you had a delicious cup of coffee or a wonderful cup of tea, or that moment of almost like relief or shyness, like you're grateful for this person to talk to you or in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
The closest thing I could kind of share with you of giving permission or surrendering to that presence. It's almost like the tingling, orgasmic feeling traveling to every neuron in your body's like, it's so excited to, okay, finally, we have emergence, which is now leading us to our wonderful meditation as walking through the store as you surrender to really connect. And thank you, CC, for sharing your wonderful gifts.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Oh wait, let me introduce her first. So we have Cece coming on, Cece Converse, and she is a divine spiritual guidance, psychic, intuitive consultant, certified coach, Kabbalah teacher. Her number is right there if you would like to reach out to her. If there's something that she says today that resonates with you and you're like, I really need to speak to her, that her information is here. It's also on our event page. It is afterwards when we finally move the videos, and I will be posting all this information on Unit 2. So that way, if you ever want to go back afterwards, if it comes up like, what, I've been saying I'm going to contact this person, now I can't find her information, it's going to be on our page. So that way it's always accessible for everyone. So with that, I just want to say thank you, Cece, for taking the time today. And I'm looking forward to see what you're presenting. Let me stop share.
So Rebecca, did you want me to do meditation first or?
Meditation first.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'm just wanted to say that I am just thrilled to be here today, and so I'll just jump right into the meditation. So let's close our eyes and your feet flat on the floor, and your spine upward. Let's take 3 deep cleansing breaths in through the nose and hold for a count of 4. And then out for a count of 4. And with your next breath, allow all of the stuff of the day so far to drop away. And out for 4. And then with your last breath, breathe in and hold for a count of 6. And then out for a count of 4. Let's gather our energy together as if it's a ball of energy. It might be in your head or neck or shoulders. Wherever it is, in your mind's eye, move it down your spine, down your central core, to the middle of your hips. Just feel your seat getting heavier in your chair or your sofa, wherever you are. And place your attention on your root chakra and just open it to a comfortable position. And send your grounding cord down to the middle of the earth. And along that cord now, earth energy can enter your body, filling your body from your hips to your toes, your hips to your abdomen, chest, neck, and head. And at your crown chakra now, opening it to a comfortable position, you see the beautiful white light, that beautiful pillar of light that's just above you. And as you're comfortable, allow that light to enter through your crown, filling your head and all the cells, filling your neck, the shoulders to the arms and fingertips, your chest, your abdomen, and your hips, and legs to the toes. And as you breathe in earth energy and that beautiful, beautiful white light in through your body, and you mix it with your life force. And as you do, all your chakras open, and you breathe out into your aura field as well as your breath, the rainbow of you filling your aura field. With each breath, you breathe in earth and spirit energy, and breathe out into your aura field. And with your next breath, notice there's a door in front of you. And reach out and open the door as far as you want or as little as you want. And look through or walk through the door. There, your guides are. However many there are there. And one will step forward and give you a message today. You may sense it in your body. There may be a smell or a taste. You may hear something. And you may see. However that is for you, receive that now. And now, your guide may hand you a gift. Receive it and thank your guide for the message and the gift. And knowing you can come back here at any time. Say goodbye for now and return to the door and close the door tightly behind you. And finding yourself in your seat. Take a deep breath again, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Wiggling your toes and fingers in your seat in your chair. Return to the room. Come back, come back, come back. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you, Rebecca. That was very, very nice.
That was intense. I needed that. But no, thank you. And with this, you could go ahead and start with your presentation, whatever you want to, talk with us about.
Awesome. Well, as Rebecca said, I'm Cece Converse. I'm a psychic intuitive, medium, healer. I'm a coach. In fact, I know some of you on the call today. My beautiful friend Patty is here, my colleague in crime, if you will. So I'm really, really glad to be here, and I'm really honored to be here. And I'm blessed to be able to be in service to many people through intuitive guidance and teaching intuition and Kabbalah and teaching angel classes and really helping people get connected to spirit, God, whatever you call it, because I believe it's all the same thing. So what I receive is passed with love and compassion and empowerment. And so it's all about heart. deep, deep, beautiful heart. So, so some of the things that I believe in is that we are all creators, and that we can change our lives anytime we want. We're just making a choice, and it's harder than just saying that, so to speak. But we can make major changes in life. Um, my story. I grew up in a really abusive family. My mother was violent, both verbally and physically. And in second grade, I saw her being taken away in an ambulance in a white jacket, and that was the talk of the neighborhood. And she was in and out of the hospital for the most of my life. And there was a time there, I think I was about 10 years old, that I wanted to leave. I was done. I was absolutely done. I was pitching a fit all day long, like a 10-year-old might, but it was all day. And I remember it was maybe 4 or 5 in the afternoon. The sun was going down. It was twilight, and I was so amazingly upset that I don't think I've felt that way another couple times, but not often. And I sat on my bed and I leaned back into my pillow that had the arms, and I was like, just take me. And I closed my eyes for a moment, and I felt this like warm blanket, like warm honey, and just the greatest love that I could ever feel. And I opened my eyes, and here's this angel. I mean, what we would call an angel, just hovering over me. And I closed my eyes again, and I opened my eyes, and where her finger was, it was like this big. And I lifted my arm up off the side of the pillow, and my hand was like almost as big as my room. And it felt as if we literally expanded. And all I remember to this day of this experience was we went out wherever we went, and I knew that I had a purpose, that I wasn't supposed to go. And it was, time-wise, it was hours. I remember waking up, I was walking in my room, and I knew I couldn't leave. I had something to do. And I went back to school that next day, and everybody was saying, well, I thought you were leaving, because I told my friends. And I said, nope, I've got something to do. I have a purpose here. And they're like, oh, she's crazy. And that was the start of something amazing. After that, life went on and school went on, and come my teenage years, I had a boyfriend that was pretty violent. It's like when you grow up in a violent family, that's what you know, so that's what you attract, unless you clear it. And so I broke up with this boyfriend, and about 6 months later, he showed up in my room. He broke into our house, and in the middle of the night, he threw stones at my window. And when I got out, because that's how he used to come visit me, I got out of my bed, he grabbed my ankles, and he kidnapped me for 6 months. And that experience was like one angel after another, one guide showing up after another. I was really blessed, even though it was a horrendous experience. And I was brought home by an angel. So that's another story. It's quite a long story, but that is to come later on. So throughout these experiences, I developed this keen sense, or honed this keen sense of knowing where things were, knowing who was around my space. I would hear things, I would feel things, I would just know things inside. I would see in my mind's eye what was going on. Hear, see, feel, and know. Those are the four clairs, right? And that stayed with me. And although throughout those experiences I developed a very beautiful sense of horrible self-worth, which I've had to clear for the most of my life. Um, I've known that I had this gift. So as time went on, I would surprise people by knowing things. One experience I had was walking out of my dorm room with my roommate going to get dinner, and the minute we hit the parking lot, I checked out. She said, "I don't know where you went, but you were gone." And we talked about this and that. I'm like, I don't even remember that. But when we went and had dinner, we came back, and I immediately called my family, and my grandmother had almost died that afternoon. And so that happened several times with other people in our family, and I gained the reputation of, if Cece calls, something's going on. So, so fast forward. In 1989, I had a back injury, and so I had been married for about almost 10 years at that time. 8 years, sorry, and in this back injury, I literally could not walk more than a step every couple of minutes because of the intense pain. And during that time, all the guides and angels came back to me and said, you can't ignore us any longer. Because I had been married and gone on with my life and did my work. And so I spent a year with them communing. And at that time, I had been working for veterinary hospitals for 18 years already. And now I had to change my career because I couldn't do that work any longer. So after I was able to heal myself through bringing energy in and going to chiropractors and the doctors and all of that, and I took as little bit of the pain medication as I could during that time and weaned myself off. And I dedicated myself for the next 10 years to take classes and go to gatherings and just eat up everything that I could around, what is this, what are all these phenomena, and talk with my guides. So that's my basic story. I think it was maybe 2008 that I officially opened doing psychic readings and healing in 2004, and then in 2008 at Open Secret Bookstore in California, Marin County. So that's my story. And we are here. Boy, we are here for a purpose. So each and every one of us here, and each and every one of us walking around, wherever we are, we have a purpose and a voice. And my passion is to help people find that purpose and to have their voice so they can have a say in their world. So the theme for today is preparing to meet your guides, and doing the meditation is really the best way. And I always suggest that for a private practice to begin with maybe 15 minutes in the morning after you do your gratitude, and 15 minutes before you go to bed, and then you can expand it as you get used to it. And if you have that mind chatter that happens when we first start working on meditation, have a pad of paper next to you and a pencil or a pen, and you don't even have to open your eyes. Just scribble on that page. It'll look like gobbledygook when you're done, but your mind thinks that you've harvested that idea, and you may even want to harvest an idea, which is really great. So just have that pencil in your hand or sitting next to you that you can. And pretty soon your mind will then calm. It'll take time, but it'll calm down so that it's not always chattering at you when you go do your meditation. Now, I've been doing meditation for many, many, many years. And so, after time, you can easily just close your eyes and you're there. So it takes practice, lots of practice. Both JB and Rebecca were talking about surrender, and surrendering to the things that we have inside, like lack of self-esteem, or not worthy, or you fill in the blank. We all have our own. And when we can take those things, like I love the energetic ball. Here's the my energetic ball, and I put all of my worries and lacks and all of that, and put it on the table. You can have it back if you want it, and then I can go into meditation without that even being an issue. I'll do that for my clients if I'm feeling particularly, as I say, crunchy that day. I will do that practice. I'll put it all in a ball and put it there. You know, if I want it back, I can have it. But I can leave it there and I can actually hand it to the guides and they'll take it. So that's one of the things that I do to surrender. And then, and I think that for our core wounds, you know, the things that really kind of bug us on a day-to-day basis, you know, we'll constantly be working on that. And like I think JB said, it was like the layers of the onion will be taking off time after time as we do our work. So, so when you're preparing to step into that sacred place, to meet and be with your guides, have an intention that you're going to be meeting with them. Clear your mind. Use that ball exercise if you need to. Move your ego out of the way so that you can actually receive. You can do physical clearing. You can sage or Palo Santo. That's always a really great. Those two are great to use to just clear the energy of the space. If you use prayer, you can use prayer. The Psalms are great to use. Expand your mind and expand your energy. So, you know, imagine a column of energy and just let it radiate out into a big circle. And you can imagine, you know, some sort of a seal on the outside so nothing can come in. Mirrors are great. Anything that comes towards you will get bounced back. So creating that circle of energy around you. Some people will use a circle of salt. You don't have to use a lot, just a pinch, or ash. And that is in the spirit world like fire, so that nothing can come into this space. Because, you know, like we've heard this week, being in meditation is one of those places where it's the closest we get to not being physically on the planet any longer. And it's like being at home. For me, it is when I meditate. So, so setting intention, saging, light a candle, and focus your energy on the candle, and then expand that out. Put a sign on your door so nobody bothers you. Put your phone on silent, and or take the phone off the hook if you still have a landline. And if you like music, soft music, nothing that's jarring, right? I'm a silent person, so, you know, I prefer just nothing. No music, no talking, no nothing. And literally once I close my eyes and I take a few of those deep breaths and invoke the energies, all of the outside sounds just sort of fall away. So that's how I would prepare to meet, to receive them. You know, you had a kind of an experience this morning. Did you feel things? Did you hear things? Did you see things? How did you sense the gifts or the messages? So each of us will have a different way that we experience that. When I receive my guides, I see them. Right? You may have one main guide. You may have 3 guides. You may have 4 guides. I have 4 guides usually around. And then I have, it gets really crowded because of, you know, the angels show up and the guides show up and all of that. But that's been my experience for, you know, since I was a kid. You know, letting the ego kind of fall away and the blocks as it's been said, And as Rebecca said, your best laid plans, if you have a plan, like I'm going to meditate from, meet my guides from, 7:30 to 8 o'clock, something might happen that pulls you out of that. And, let that be okay. And if something happens that jars you, 4 or 5 really deep breaths and bringing your energy back into your body. Sometimes if we get jarred out from meditation or we get shocked, our energy kind of jumps off someplace. Mine always goes up and to the right. And so it's like a balloon. I'll just have to pull it back in to my body so that I'm not outside of my body. I'm now then inside my body. And I'll bring that balloon down to between my hips so I'm grounded with that. And so, you kind of have a plan for what you're wanting. The angels and the guides and the masters, they respond when we ask. So be really clear with what you're asking for and what you want. And take notes. They love it when you take notes. As a matter of fact, they remind me every now and then, you know what, we told you that 3 weeks ago. So take notes. And if you're afraid of something, just tell them, I'm afraid of this. And ask them to help you release that fear. One of the first classes that I ever took was through the Jose Silva group. I don't know if any Silva. He used to do a class called it was Silva Mind Control, and I took it back in the 70s. Now I'm dating myself, and how they taught us to see our guides was to go into this beautiful deep meditation, doing a lot of what I led you through this morning. So do it, whatever you do, get to that point, and to watch the garage door open slowly, so you see their feet, their legs, right? In whatever form that they show up in, and then that's a great way if you want to say, okay, guide number 2, I haven't seen you before. Can you present yourself? And guide number 3, right? You may have their names. They may have told you what their names are. Whatever that is, utilize that because it's yours. And I make mention of this now because whatever you see, feel, hear, sense is yours. No matter what teacher, including me, that you ever have, it's yours. What I say may not fit, and that's great. And you have your way. So find what works for you. So as you're meeting your guides, you can ask them, let me see you. For a long time, mine sat out right at my periphery until they started moving forward and I could actually see them. And you could ask them, so I know it's you every time I come see you, give me a sign, right? It may be a flash of light. It may be an image. It may be a brush on the cheek, right? Something. Ask them to give me a sign so I identify you each time I come in. And giving them permission to come in is done by, I'm going to go meet my guides. Once you have that intention, I'm going to go work with my guides, they will come in to see you. Now, one thing to remember is your time in wanting to see them is not their time. So if they don't show up, it's for a reason. And so be patient. So it's not about being frustrated with yourself or with them. All of that, throw out, because it is, timing is when it's right, it will happen. And when it's right, you will receive. So ask questions, like I said earlier, and be really have good intention and intention for the questions you want to ask, and then ask them to give me something that I didn't ask for that. It's time for me, right? And whether you receive those in the meditation or not, you can actually be walking down the street having a meditation, and like Rebecca and JB said, somebody will say something and you're going, oh my gosh, that's what they've been trying to tell me, right? Or synchronicities. You'll come around the corner and bump into that person that you were thinking of, you know, 5 minutes or an hour or 2 days ago, that you knew you needed to see. So, let's talk a minute about fear. Like our fear of, and for a long time I was afraid to even meditate because I thought I would leave the planet. I had those two collapse together. And it took a while meditating and working with the guides to know that, no, I'm grounded here. There's no worry about that. I have this purpose. I'm not leaving anytime soon. So, and then, when we get those gut feelings, like, a lot of us have these feelings in our belly, and fear shows up there and excitement shows up there, and it travels up the same channel. One in fear, it'll go to one place in our brain, and excitement will go to another place. So that discernment about, is this fear? Is this me? What am I afraid of? Or is it this excitement, like I'm really excited to move forward with this, right? Excited to see my guides and all of that. So, so discerning which way it's going, and really being open to receive, right? So hold that intention. So, and use your voice. So, I don't know if anybody's heard this, but there's a statement that is like no magic happens without word. Right? You hear people conjuring and using words and incantations, prayer, right? So when we want to create, we need to speak what we want, right? Whether that's writing it on a piece of paper, or speaking it out loud, or even whispering. Like you could say, I want to talk with the guides. Just passing it over your vocal cords. There's something energetically when it comes through the throat, up through the heart, and out through the throat chakra and through your mouth, that things happen. So ask. We all, most of us, I should say, sometimes don't ask for what we want. We don't ask for help. They can't do their job unless we ask. It's sort of like that prime directive, right? So, and yes, you can think about your questions, right? And they'll hear you. So, speak your questions, ask what you want, ask for what you want, and then speak your gratitude as well. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for coming to visit me. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for the messages, right? Whether they're angels, guides, masters, right? Whoever it is. And honor yourself and take care of yourself. So, I think that's about it. So we talked about preparing. We talked about the energy. We talked about meditation, preparing to receive your guides, preparing to receive the messages. So I think, Rebecca, anything else?
No, you covered all the bases. It was like it very much needed for a lot of the viewers that I know of that had those questions, and you really covered all those bases, and it was very informative. And definitely we're gonna, JB, if you could, you have the option to unmute now, so that way if you have any questions for myself, for Cece, for my husband, go ahead and ask questions. If you could also put them in the chat box, we will answer them. I have the view of the chat box here. Also for those on Facebook, if you have a question, you could post it. I also have the view. Patty?
Hi, good morning. Thank you again, Rebecca and JB, for putting this healing circle together, Healers Roundtable. And Cece, oh my goodness, it's so, I'm just thrilled to be with you again and to, and feel excited and honored to have you here. And I, um, I would love for you to share a little bit about your cat energy, because I know your cat energy is, and Rebecca would relate, and others who have cats. But if you would share just a little bit about how the cat energy comes as a guide, also,
Yeah.
and how they serve.
Yeah. So, so as you know, and I have a big entourage of animals that follow me. So, it's animals have been a big part of my life, and the cat energy. So, let's see here. So you've all heard that dogs have owners and cats have staff. so
Yes.
so they I have two cats, and they very much rule the roost. So I'm sure you've seen them running around here, and when I'm doing stuff like this, sometimes they're all over the place. They're like excited, that's their way of like moving energy, right? And there are just other times when they'll be just as quiet as mice, and purring and very happy, and and that's when I'm doing very quiet work. Like when I go into meditation, they just want to be around and just lay around, right? But when I'm excited, like I'm really excited about being here, right? They will also be, and they respond to the energies of the people that are on the Zoom, or that I'm working with. So they're key. They also will point to what's going on. Like, I've had my cat. I'm working with somebody and they have knee problems. He'll come up and tap me on the knee. So, and then when I'm feeling verklempt or upset, he'll come and he'll just do the kneading, like on my belly or on my arm or on my heart. So the cat energy is really, really amazing, amazing. So,
Thank you.
answer your question, Patty.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, because I noticed your cat in the back, and I noticed when the energies were shifting and when you were going into different topics, that the cat suddenly, gets up and then it moves and it's flowing with, like you said, it's flowing with the energy. And that's what I know about cats. And I just wanted the audience, in case they had, so yeah, I noticed. And thank you.
Did you know that in ancient Egyptian times they revered the cat?
Mhm.
So much so that they would mummify the pets. I mean, it's amazing. So it's so good to see you, Patty.
Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, it's really cool to have you here also. I mean, I'm looking at across the screen here, and all these beautiful people are here. And even those that are just, their names are up, their energies are still here, as all the four of us here can feel that sensation
For
and
sure,
that
I can feel everybody.
the
And
field. Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
And there's a cat.
There he is. And yeah, and I was just wondering, are we having a session after this, Rebecca, or is
Yeah.
this
So we'll be on Facebook Live till 8:30, and then from 8:30 to 9 is a private session. If anyone wants to ask questions where it's not, on the live, more personal, they're welcome to do that.
I have another question. Cece, is it appropriate, or would it be appropriate to ask if you would give a reading, perhaps? Would that, a group reading, is that something that you were going to
Sure.
bring, or is
Yeah,
that something,
I
Rebecca,
would.
you want?
And we're open for anything if that's possible.
So it would be really great if a couple of people would ask some questions, so that they can help you directly, and that's always helpful. So
Well, if no one has a question, I might. I'd like to give someone else the platform, though, to an opportunity to ask, because you know me, I'll always have a question or a comment.
I would be happy to answer questions.
Yeah, I know for myself lately, I've been getting a lot more dizzy than usual. And I
Mhm.
know it's my guides, and I know something's going on. There's big shifts going on. And I could, like what you were saying, the cat energy. Um our cat came when my sister came back home from her chemotherapy treatments, when she was able to come back into our household. She lives here, and my daughter, she had to go away because my daughter's here and she couldn't be around Luna. And when she came back, she would start walking the complex. And so this cat would just follow her all the time. And she'd be like, "Oh, you're just trouble, aren't you? And, what are you doing? I'm not, you go away, go away." And the cat never went away. And so she kept telling us, "Hey, there's this cat." But I didn't know what cat she was talking about. And then finally, we had a shaman healer come to our house that day. And there comes the cat right into the house. And I was all like, "Oh, so you're the famous cat my sister keeps talking about." And the shamans, they were like, "Oh, this is your cat." And I'm like, "No, but it's been following my sister." And he's all like, "Oh, that's your sister's healing cat. Let your sister know that that cat is meant for her healing." And her name is Trouble. So she's been here in this household, and she's exactly like the one in your background, Cece. The
Oh
same
wow!
kind of cat. It's the black and white one. So when I saw your cat, I'm like, "Oh, there's another Trouble."
You know,
but but yeah, I've noticed her energy also. Like, she's been going into my daughter's room and just kind of staring out the window all night. She's like scanning. And every time, once in a while, I'll walk in my daughter's room and I'll be like, "What's going on, Trouble? Like, what is it that you're looking for?" But she's always just kind of like, you just see her doing this all night, just kind of scanning. And I could feel that energy. I'm like, "I wonder what's going on out there. Is that what I'm feeling? Is that why I'm so dizzy lately? Is there something, coming that I need to be prepared for?" And also, there's a question from Davida. Would meditation be the best way to start communicating with guides? She goes, "Sometimes I wake up because I hear names. Could this be them telling me their names?" So, yeah, I think those are a good couple of questions.
so so let's talk about the dizziness for a second, because I mean, also I've also been feeling the same way probably for the last maybe 2 years, and um, what we've heard about ascension symptoms, and whatever it is, all I know is that the energy has been shifting and changing, and especially with the healers. And and my feeling is that that the gifts that we have are intensifying, and our bodies are trying to adjust to that energy. And I know sometimes when I'm walking down the street and I look over to the right, I'll end up listing to the left, because that balance is out. But I'll feel like lightheaded a lot, and it's and I do the grounding exercises, and that helps. But that's the way that I recoup from that. But I think you're right that there's something happening, and we don't really know exactly what it is. There's a lot of speculation, and I really think that the energy is ramping up. Um, the veils have really been thin this year, thinner than I've ever experienced them.
It's like, God,
Yeah, exactly. Like, is there one?
which one?
So if I check in, there's a lot of activity around, and a lot more than I have seen in years. So there I think we are being contacted more and more and more. And I just looked at my window and there's a woodpecker. And they're amazing, amazing birds. So, and it's really, about they're about going for what you want. So I really think this is a time in our lives when finally moving out of fear and having your voice and having a say in who you are, what you do, where you are, how you do things, giving your gifts. I think it's really important. Like no holds barred, right? So, so, and then the next question. Forgive me, I went down the road of the dizziness. What was the next question, Rebecca? Oh, you're on mute.
Would meditation be the best way to start communicating with guides? Sometimes I wake up because I hear names. Just tell me their names.
And who is that from, JB?
Davida.
Davida. So the question I ask you, Davida, is are you hearing your name or other names?
I hear other names.
Other names. Okay. Um, um, what you might do is you might just reach out to them to see like what's like how are you doing today, right? So it may be your guides pointing you to the people that you need to reach out to talk to in this moment. So I would hear call your father a lot when things were really going down in our family. um, I'll hear names, and if I don't reach out to them, you know, I'll they'll reach out to me in like 5 minutes. It's very funny, and so that we call those synchronicities, right? Um, and yes, meditation's a great way to meet your guides and to work with your guides. And over time, what happens is that feeling or thought or touch that you would get during your meditation will show up in a moment, and your guides are talking to you. And so the touch on the cheek, right, or on the nose, something significant like that, just so that they're the ones that are speaking to you. And you may be having a conversation with a friend or a client, and you get this touch on the nose, and you're like, "Oh, my guide's talking to me. What is it?" And all of a sudden, the door opens, and you can receive that message, and then pass it if it's appropriate. So the answer to that question is yes. So a story I can tell you is I was leading a day long teaching people about intuition, and we were doing this clearing exercise. There were like 25, and we were passing this big bubble, putting all of our worries and problems around the table, and then putting it in the middle, and then Archangel Michael would take it. And during this time, I kept hearing this name over and over and over again. And I wasn't going to interrupt the meditation for that. But, and then I had heard it earlier, and it just came in more frequent intervals. So at lunchtime, after everybody got their lunch and we were sitting there, I just said, "So I have a question for you all. Does anybody know?" And I forget the name at this point. And nobody said anything. I'm like, "Okay, I kept hearing that name during our meditation, and if something comes to you, just talk to me." Well, this woman kind of crept up to me, and she goes, "That's my cousin." And I'm like, "Okay." So they showed me this. That's her. And so I gave her the message. And I mean, to this day, every time I talk to her, she says something about having gotten that message, and that because of that, the two of them got back together. They've been estranged. And it's like, it touches my heart. It's like, oh my gosh, Anyway, so yeah, your guides, as you work with them, they're going to show up in ways that are so unexpected. Through the animals, through the environment, through other people. And just be open to receiving those messages at any time. It's such a gift to be able to do that. And we're all here, we all have it. Like nobody is nobody doesn't have it. So
Definitely, I like to add on to what Cece said. I did have.
Yours, we could barely hear you.
Hello, how about now? I got gifted a message some time ago that once you listen to your guide and you recognize their name, is when you talk to them, use their name. It helps develop the connection that you have with them stronger, so that it's clearer. And even recently, I've been noticing as one of my newer gifts is connecting to other guides, similar growing pains where like I heard my guides, but it was always distorted where my wife could hear it clearly. So I was, what did they say? And she only gives me tidbits. It's like helping me, like, other than repeating their name and meditating and clearing what aspect of my ego was interrupting the message, it really allowed me to connect deeper. So now knowing my guides, say sun, being my feminine guide, and recently coming to the realization of my shaman guide, my masculine side being my grandfather I never met or heard of, it just feels warming and much clearer. And as I recently connect with other guides of the clients we're working on, it's like growing pain again, where I can hear them, but they're speaking a language, whatever their native net language of the client is. And like, I don't understand, you speak English? So it's very fascinating to go back to the basics, learn your routine. Not like our routine. We're sharing our adventures, Davida, but find your routine that allows that clear space, that clear sacred space for you to hear the communication much clearly, so that you can relay the message for you to receive the message and tune yourself. And like Cece mentioned, she received the message, but she didn't. All right, I got it. Who is so and so? Let the process go of this meditation. She tuned herself to that vibration to continue receiving messages. And then at a moment that was appropriate, she delivered the message like Rebecca did for me. She got the message, but sometimes it was a day later, a week later, a month later, a year later that she released it, because I finally addressed whatever vibration was not allowing me to elevate to receive that message appropriately, so that I could tune and really put into play what it was meant for me to receive at that time.
JB, may I offer something to you that I've just heard from the guides? So when they're speaking in a different language, but the guide said like go to your belly and let the words arise. Because you'll know you have a deep knowingness inside of you. And just allow that knowingness to simply let it, it's like they're showing me the words just sort of floating up, and just start saying those words as they float up. It's a gift you have.
Thank you. Actually, when I was younger, my intention was to learn 10 to 100 different languages before I was 30. I did not know 30 different languages. It's like, I had that gift, there's medicine within me to speak whatever language, but obviously, fortunately, translate to English. But I noticed, Davida, you were about to speak. Can you please share what you were about to say?
Yeah, I had another question. Like last night, I was sleeping, but I felt like a warm presence against me. So it woke me up, and I was just like, is it just the body heat, from my daughter laying next to me? But then right after that, she woke up and sat up, and she was like, I said, what's wrong? She was like, I can't sleep. And it was this like the same feeling I had, like if somebody was there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So can they come to you that way too?
It can, yes, yes. And you can always ask, who are you, right? And then just tune in, and literally just know that whatever it is, you are in charge. Like your intention, your words, right? Like I always use, if you're of the light, you may stay. Otherwise, you must go now. Right? They don't recognize the word no or not. So I craft it in a way that if you are of the light, beautiful, stay. If you're not, you must go now. That's my intention. And I used to be woken up, like when I was a kid, every single night, multiple times, by, by whatever you want to call it, like spirits, ETs. Like I saw everything, and I'm like, just leave me alone. I want to sleep, And so eventually, I was able to like, have that say when I just let go of the fact that, like, I'm not afraid of you any longer, right? You're just gonna go, period. So, and I used to be afraid of it a lot. So, there was a time also when I just opened to everything, and I had, like, I remember in the movie Ghost, Whoopi Goldberg, where they're standing around going me 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 me, and I'm like, stop, stop. So, so I made an agreement with them. If it's important, if it's for a client, if it's for someone who's here, great. Otherwise, no messages unless it's for me, because it's not helpful for me to have this cacophony of sound when But if I need to know, please do. Right. So that's my agreement with them.
Yeah, I totally, Cece, your experience is exactly the same. As a kid, they would just all night, anytime, and I'm like, just let me sleep. But they really feed on that vulnerability as a child, where you feel powerless, and they feed on that. And like you said, it isn't until you get older and you're like, oh no, this is my boundary, like you come in when I have that time, you don't invade my space.
Yeah.
But I wanted to answer Daniela's question. She said, can you guys talk about more about feminine and masculine guides? What are their individual purposes, if they have any? And it seems that tapping into guides is more about how much you let yourself recognize them, but how do you know it's them? And I think, again, it's releasing that expectation, because we can't expect them to be very like black and white, like come up like a literature book, like with a guide, like this is your guide and my name is so and so, and it's, we can't expect that. It's just really, I like, for me personally, I know for a fact that I have three main ones. So my main guide, that I've come in contact with a lot, even during my near-death experience, is it's this big chief. He wears these beautiful feathers, and it's this, he wears this, he's magnificent and he's tall. And, he always stands behind me, and I always know when he's present, when something's wrong going on, he just stands there like my bodyguard, and he's there ready to deal with whatever I need to deal with. And then my feminine energy, Danielle, your feminine energy is on your left side, and she is the one that gives you that power, that strength that you always need. And then your masculine energy that's on your right side is the one that helps you put it into action. So that's how I always see this trilogy. The power of three is very important to be aware of. That trilogy really helps you during a lot of, times that where you really need to stand in your power. I don't know, Cece, if you want to add anything to that. That's my experience.
Yeah, so the masculine and feminine, I'll speak to that, is really about every one of us, male or female, has both energies within us. And sometimes we use our feminine energy, soft and sweet, and yet with authority. And sometimes we use our masculine energy, which is assertive and aggressive, faster talking, more pointed. Like Rebecca said, it's the doing, right? And the feminine energy is all about creation and creativity and nurturance, and it's a beautiful energy, and in Kabbalah too, in the tree of life, if you've ever seen the glyph, we have the center pillar, which is us. It goes through all of our chakras and through our central core. And we have the masculine side and the feminine side. And it's called the pillar of severity and the pillar of mercy. So, and the balance of severity and mercy, or as compassion or pointedness, as I call it, and it's really about balancing everything. When we're in balance, it's amazing. But when we're more in our masculine energy as women, right? We can get pretty assertive or aggressive, for that matter, right? If we're too in our feminine energy, we can show up less than strong. We can show up even as victims. Yet we can also show up as victims in our masculine energy, right? Being defensive and argumentative, and so balancing them in the positive aspects is really important, so we can show up. So
Add on to that, Daniela and anyone listening, imagine gardening. Many of you might not be gardeners. Microphone covered. How about now?
Yeah. Yes, better.
Many of you might not be gardeners, but just imagine gardening. In your garden, it's not something where you could set some plants and flowers or tree and just forget it. It's something that you need to attend to daily, like removing what's weed. The definition of weed is something that's out of place. Even a rose or orange tree could be a weed for your garden. So however you want to design your garden, you have to attend to it daily. Remove whatever is a weed for your garden. It will allow you to recognize what is your guides and what the ego interrupting that message and then trying to tell you. For me, it's more aggressive, more louder, and maybe even sarcastic based on my life experience of the traumas that developed what became my ego. And that's how I recognize it's my ego over my guide. My guide is more gentle, kind of soft-spoken, but then they have a repeat. So, okay, that's my guide when they kind of repeat that message that they want me to either receive or potentially translate for the person in front of me. Whereas my ego is like, I know this, bam, here it is. This is the message. They're like, no. Step aside, meditate, quiet my mind, enter my sacred space, expand my energy. Okay, what is it? And listening to that whisper. And sometimes, like she mentioned, you start recognizing sensations inside your body. Not so much external, more of an internal tapping, so to speak. That's for me. I recognize the guides versus my ego or any other entity that might be trying to interrupt. If you get to set the protective barrier so that you have that clear communication channel.
Patty, you want to add something?
I'd like to add something. Yes. So all of this is a practice, right? Especially when you're starting out. I always say practice. I mean, everything that you want to learn more or grow into or get better at is set an intention. I call it a practice with intention. And I would encourage you to sit with the feminine and ask questions of the feminine with intention, right? Say, I feel your feminine energy, whether you feel it or not. Just make it up. And then as you sit there in your meditation, in your silence, then you ask questions like, show me who you are. Tell me who you are. Tell me, who are you? What are you here for? And make conversation. It's no different. What I've experienced is that it's no different than engaging with a new person that you meet, a physical being that you meet on the street or in a coffee shop, or you're introduced to someone new. You will engage with them. Hello, hi, how are you? Who are you? And that's how I've been with my guide since I was about 4 years old, is my first memory outside of when I was in the cradle and I saw all these, images hovering over my cradle. and it was verified by my parents. But yeah, I would say practice with intention, and then sit with your masculine, same as you would with the feminine energy. And that's what worked for me and works for me still. And so yeah, practice with intention.
Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and take this time to end the live with our bowl. So for day one, we focused on the crown chakra. Go ahead and just kind of sit there, relax. Make sure to just make that connection with your higher source. Remember, I've also mentioned the pearls around your forehead, your extra crown chakra that just really connects you. See those tentacles reaching out, connecting. We also worked on our third eye that shoots out in front of you and behind you, this beautiful violet light. And yesterday we did our throat chakra, which is this beautiful blue light just circling clockwise. And today we're going to focus on our heart chakra, this beautiful emerald green turning clockwise, just right here in your heart. Every time you hear the vibration of this bowl, just imagine it getting bigger and bigger and more beautiful, this beautiful emerald green just like glowing. Take a couple of deep breaths. Go ahead and take 3 deep belly breaths. And I just want to say thank you for joining us today. We will be getting off Facebook Live. The recording will be on our Facebook page. If you would like to review it again, or if you missed it, it will be on the page for you to watch. And I highly suggest if you are on Zoom, stay. So for more questions that you may have, we will be on Zoom still till 9 a.m. If you are on Facebook Live and would like to join us through Zoom, if you would like to ask a question, go ahead and come on in. And just want to say thank you, Cece. Thank you, Patty. You know, you guys brought a lot today and, helped many with their questions today. So I'm glad that we were able to do this today. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm so honored to be able to pass this information and help people and do my work. So I'm so thankful for you inviting me here.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all from Facebook Live. We're ending it now.